It's all relative. Had Joanne Strauss taken up the offer to study medicine at Stellenbosch, she'd probably have helped scores of us already. Yet, what we'd have missed is a lifetime's worth of first-rate entertainment.
The sun is directly overhead and it's 45 degrees Celsius. I'm standing on top of a dune with a slope of 45 degrees. Perfect conditions for skiing.
She graduated with a law degree, but a job offer had also arrived that beat a partnership in any law firm.
I'm excited. I'm like representing the girls, so let's go.
If Jo is built like a pair of Italian stilettos, she soon proved that those heels go anywhere, anytime, immediately making her a favorite with directors.
Armed with a wetsuit, life jacket, helmets and fins, I'm about to surf some of the world's biggest freshwater rapids. Now they call this the crocodile biscuit. Let's hope I don't become an Ingwenya snack today. If I think back on the 6 years that I've been with Top Billing, there are a number of highlights. One of them was, of course, when they threw me onto a boogie board, threw me down the rapids in the Zambezi River. And I actually remember the director asking me beforehand, "Can you swim?" And I said, "Yeah, enough." For the first rapid, the Zambezi took me in, spun me around, tossed me about like a washing machine and then spat me up. Then I understood where I stood in the hierarchy, and from then on, the other rapids, easy peasy.
For Top Billing presenters, being dressed to thrill comes standard. But amongst some of the world's best dressed celebs, Ms. Strauss was soon being told she'd outdone everyone.
10 minutes after ticket sales are opened, the life ball is sold out. In fact, they say it's more difficult to get into the life ball than into the Oscars. For the second year in a row, Top Billing has all-area access to Europe's largest and most glamorous charity fundraiser. That was one of my first shoots. We were the only crew allowed backstage besides Fashion TV, and I had to identify celebs as they were coming along. So sort of all of a sudden you're faced with your childhood idols and you're like, okay, question. Elton John, welcome to Top Billing.
Thank you.
You've been committed to the Life Ball since 2001. What does this event mean to you?
It's just an incredible event to come to. I mean, to get a major city like Vienna to turn its kind of center of it over to AIDS for the weekend is an incredibly honorable thing to do, and it's, you know, the first city in the world to do that.
When traveling, it's up to the presenter to read the situation and dress to make an impression, but always appropriately. From cycling the islands around Stockholm to an historical and biblical tour of Valencia, Spain, Joanne always looks the part, asks the right questions, and gets the story.
How do we know that this is authentic, that this is the Holy Grail?
Because it's recognized by the Vatican, and because it's from the 1st century before Christ with the Carbono 14 proof, okay? And because tradition says from the 1st, 2nd century, 3rd century that it's in Spain.
Chemistry. It makes hot air balloons go up. And at Chateau d'Esclimont outside Paris, Joanne's effect on the pilot had moved him to the very romantic gesture of bringing his basket low enough for her to pick a bouquet from the treetops.
The French.
But when you're trying to convey the spectacle of Vic Falls through a TV screen, you need to be able to say the word fantastic a lot of different ways.
Awesome! A truly heavenly experience. The highlights for me with Top Billing is the traveling. Just to be able to see the most beautiful locations in the world, literally from going to Zambia and Zimbabwe all the way to Vienna, Austria. And then, of course, we've gone to some interesting locations, for example, Sweden and Norway.
A first-class travel story isn't a talking tour guide. It's always made by capturing classic, personal moments on camera.
Alfred, this is fantastic. Is this a little feast you prepared for us?
I did. A coffee break with some coffee and also some cake my lovely neighbor Helga baked for us this morning. She's 95 years old and she can't stop making cake. I also have some moose milk.
What makes moose milk different to cow's milk?
They're harder to milk because they run around in the wilderness.
You're talking nonsense.
And I milked them this morning.
You do get a chance, or you do get confused sometimes with locations, because you literally have breakfast in Norway and dinner in Sweden. And I remember one particularly embarrassing incident where I had to do a link at the end of a whole insert we'd done on Norway, and I jumped into the hot tub with the host, who happened to be a tourism authority from Norway. I was swimming around and I remarked, "I think I could get used to Sweden, don't you?"
Get the out of my property. I don't want to see her again. Okay, and you can all go back to South Africa. There's no more program.
Happily, on her elephant camp outing in Asia, Jo didn't confuse Thailand with Vietnam or Sweden.
This elephant is so intelligent. She actually understands whatever I tell her to do. But the one language all of us girls understand, sugar. Bonsu! Always wins. I'm absolutely obsessed with elephants. So it was a huge highlight for me that in Thailand I actually got to bathe with an elephant. So I sat on its back, walked into the water, and I got to exfoliate it and have a little spa day with an elephant. Well, from Dumbo to Jumbo. I was also on the wing of a jumbo jet, a Boeing 747. And the owner of the hotel allowed me to walk on the wing of the jumbo jet and actually jump on it to see how flexible it really was. So that was something I don't think you'll experience twice in your life. But hold on, Oscar, this is feeling slightly wobbly. I'm not sure if we should be this far out or...
It's okay.
Don't do that! No!
And never again will the image of truckers be the same after Joanne let slip a secret fantasy of hers and we set out to make it a reality.
I'm driving 22 wheels of truck.
Joanne, you're getting good at this.
We're trucking. I'm trucking.
Just follow the curve.
And I drove a 22-wheeler truck, raced it around the racing track. Now, that is something you don't get to do every day.
Making yourself the fish out of water, whether in the kitchen or the powder snow, is often what makes you watchable. Leaping into situations, despite your better judgment, makes you brilliant company on any journey. And besides, no one wants to listen to someone who just talks all the time, right? Joanne's a natural host, and she's translated that into a thriving career as an MC everywhere from Phuket to Monaco, even Sardinia. Added to which, she's not only tweetalig, but viertalig.
Uraf kral unengqondo gqithi xa uyasebenza pha living room. It's just for the closer version of top bling bling. No, the camera's on, the sound's not rolling, so you can tell any naughty jokes. I was worried about that actually. No, nobody's gonna hear, don't worry. Don't worry. As a young girl in ballet class, you managed to convince all the other girls that you were a princess in a previous life or in another life. Do you think that's a self-fulfilling prophecy or
only
coincidence?
the South African who would come into the room would know that.
While Joanne has spent a decade proving she's so much more than just a pretty face, she still knows better than anyone that television is a visual medium and appearances matter.
One of the other things about being a top billing presenter is that you've got to keep in shape. Now, generally the camera does add 5 kilos, and so you've got to be fit, and you've also got to be ready to don a bikini in a minute's notice. So you've got to make sure that you feel comfortable, not that you're skinny necessarily, but that you're healthy. I remember when we went to Rome, they sent me to gladiator fighting school, and we had the guy who actually trained all the stuntmen for these gladiator movies. So I had to learn how to fight and how to wield a sword in this very heavy gladiator armor and actually be able to move around and think on my feet.
That's cheating.
That's not fair. That was so much fun, so exhilarating, and if the real gladiators were still around, I'd so be in the Colosseum.
As a presenter, you want your number to be the first one the producer calls when there's a big story that has to work first time round with no room for second takes.
Top Billing is known for loving action interviews, so with Dr. Ray, I thought it would be a sit-down interview, and the next thing I knew, they had me doing kung fu with Dr. Ray, and he is full of energy. He's actually a little bit like a child. Tell me about the family life.
This is avoidance behavior. She's trying not to exercise, but I'll answer, but she has to kick.
I'm curious. Also with Gina Athens, we did a shoot where we did the interview and she spoke about diving with sharks. So naturally, we jumped in a shark tank, and you have to put on your wetsuit and you literally jump in a tank at the aquarium with the sharks and you shoot that. Whatever Top Billing throws at you, you have to be able to take in your stride and get on with it. The show must go on. So whether it means diving with sharks, fighting against gladiators, you've got to get the perfect shot.
To those with a Top Billing dream, watch, learn, practice, and ask yourself honestly, does what you do come close to this? If yes, then bring it on.